Hi everyone, I'm Sandie La Nae. Welcome to Psychic Creations. We have a very fun show for you today. As you know, some of our programs features artisans such as Scarecrow Joe Studio with Joanna Bailey and an upcoming show with Debbie Lynn Smith about creating oracle runes. Well, today we have another very special artisan, and after our introductions, I will let her explain to you all about this very unique artistic expression. Please welcome Kim Van Zyl, Zentangle artist.
Thank you, Sandy.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to have you on the show, and thank you for allowing Psychic Creations to come into your home studio.
Sure.
This is
very
great.
exciting.
Yes, it's going to be a fun show. All right. Now, before we speak about your artistry, I'd like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind, so our viewers can get the up close and personal.
Okay.
All right. Well, here we go. Question number one. Are you a native Nevadan?
No.
No? Okay.
Born and raised in Benton, Michigan,
Oh, okay.
and then transplanted from there to Washington State. We were there for about, I think, 16 years. Our son was born there. Did a short 3-year stint back to Michigan, and then my mom lived here in Carson, and when that moved back to Michigan wasn't the right thing. So we decided we would try this out to be close to my mom. So we've been here since '98.
Oh, do you like Carson, this area?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
I do. Gary, my husband, kind of misses the water and the different aspects of Washington. So someday we might end up back there, but we travel back enough to get a taste of it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Awesome. All right. And do you work here in Carson?
I work for Carson Tahoe Hospital for their
Oh.
behavioral health services department. So that is dealing with mental health and substance abuse. I'm an administrative assistant. Been with them for over 12 years.
Nice.
Had a short little break in the middle where I worked for a dialysis company. I worked, when we first got here, worked for Douglas High School for 7 years as a special ed assistant,
Oh, nice.
working with one-on-one special needs children. I also worked at Gottschalk's when they were in the
Oh,
mall.
nice. Yeah.
Because I have a lot of retail background. When we lived in Washington, I worked for the Bon Marché, which is now Macy's.
Oh, nice.
But department manager, sales, the last 4 years was an Estee Lauder counter manager, which I really enjoyed.
Sure.
So working at Gottschalk's, I got to play around with that a little bit more. But when the full-time became available at the hospital, that's pretty much where I've been.
What a nice varied jobs for your skills.
Yes, I'm definitely a people person, customer service. So I like to be the first face and impression when people
Sure.
come to our department.
And what a treasure you are. All right. Now, I'm sure that our viewers are very excited to find out what Zentangle is. Yeah, yeah. So can you please explain to our viewers just what Zentangle is?
Yes. So Zentangle is an art method that is easy to learn, fun, relaxing, and it's a way to draw really beautiful images with like structured patterns.
Okay.
So it's, some people will look at it and they think, oh, it looks like a form of doodling. And it is somewhat, it has that attraction to it. But it actually is broken down to a kind of a ceremony that we do, the structured patterns that you learn, and there's no preconceived outcome, or it's not like drawing a portrait or a picture of an animal that takes a lot of artistic talent. So this art method, anyone can learn. I've taught ages from 70 to 90.
Wow.
And that's what's so exciting. People that never thought they could be an artist, never considered themselves artistic, can sit down and learn this and do it. And every class, you know, I get people that are just amazed at what they've created. So it's very uplifting, builds your confidence. It's very mindful. It's being used now throughout the world in therapy, in schools.
Oh.
It's just one of the hottest trending topics right now. Do you want me to tell you a little about the history of how it came about?
Please. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So how I discovered it, it's been about 4 years. I was doing a lot of card making, scrapbooking, that kind of artistic stuff in a little shop down on Highway 50. And Donna Jean, that owns the shop, had taken a class, and she had a couple little framed pieces of her artwork. And right away I was connected to that, like, what is that? That's very unique looking. And they're so small and just framed, and So she told me about Zentangle. I immediately bought a pen set, a book, taught myself, went online, devoured everything I could off the web. There's so much out there. So in the beginning, it was more just for me. I had done art back in high school. Haven't been in high school for a while. So it was like, why don't I do art anymore? And my son was taking art at WNC, so I was a little envious. So discovering Zentangle, it's almost like it came to me, and I started doing it, and it's very addicting. That's the only negative part of it, is that I have to do like portion control. Because I literally draw almost every night. But with my full-time job, I have to make sure that I'm not up till 1 or 2 in the morning every night.
Oh, I bet so.
Yeah. So, and then learning about the origin of Zentangle made it even more important to me, and how it can help people and relate to people. So, Maria Thomas, she's a world-renowned artist, calligrapher, has a full resume, just beautiful stuff. And then her husband, Rick Roberts, who used to be a monk for like 15 years.
Oh.
That's his flute music in the background, so he made his own wooden flutes. Well, they
Nice.
went to the same high school, had never met each other though. And then how many, 40 years later, they're both done with their first marriages, their paths crossed, they're friends for a couple of years. They end up getting married, the little romance and all that. So they had encountered a lot of people that would look at Maria's artwork and just say, well, I wish I could draw. I don't have the time or the money or the talent or this and that. And that started to sink into them, these 10 obstacles that people were always coming up with. Well, she was working on this really huge manuscript with illuminated letters, and this is 4 or 5 hours, her doing tedious work.
Oh, yes.
And just shutting out the rest of the world. And he kind of comes finally in like, what do it's been hours you've been in here, and when's lunch,
Yeah, right.
So it took her a few minutes to kind of like, come up around to being more awake and aware of her surroundings. And she told Rick, she goes, I'm not sure what was happening, but I've been drawing this whole time, but yet shutting out the world. And he's like, well, it sounds like you were meditating, but yet able to do your work.
Oh.
And the strokes were so elemental so right away she knew that was a really profound moment. And they consider this a gift that kind of came to them.
Oh, yeah.
And so they talked more and more about it, and kind of the elements of it, and how she was, I think what I was doing anyone could do. And that kind of was the light bulb, like, this can do away with those 10 obstacles people were always coming up with. So they packed up, went to a bed and breakfast over the weekend, came up with the name, which took a while. I think that was maybe the last day that Zentangle just kind of came out. Zen being the Zenful part of it, and kind of the Rick part of it.
Yeah.
And then Tangle represents drawing patterns, tangle, so it's really neat. I mean,
How
they
interesting.
They taught their first class that weekend. They grabbed one of the families that were there at the bed and breakfast that had a couple kids. Is this something you think you might do? And they sat them down, they taught them a few little patterns, and they came up with their first, what we call tiles. And the rest is kind of like just crazy history. It just went from there to teaching more and more people, teaching her daughters. Other people are like, can I learn? So now, it's been over 10 years.
Oh.
They hold, I think about 4 seminars a year for people to go to Providence, Rhode Island at the Providence Hotel to get certified in the Zentangle art method. So I finally got to do that last October.
Yes.
And I'd already been teaching for quite a while, teaching at the Goddess Shop where I met Sandie.
Right.
Our tables were right close together.
Yeah.
And I met a whole circle of new friends. It was very wonderful. And then teaching some of our groups where I work.
Mhm.
So I already felt comfortable doing that, but I really wanted the experience of being certified and meeting Rick and Maria and doing the whole experience. So, and I wish I could go every year because it's kind of like going to Girl Scout camp. You just love it so much, you never want to leave, you
Right.
know. We had 108 attendees in my class, and that was seminar 16 from all over the world. You know, I sat next to a lady from Amsterdam. We had a lady there from Belgium, Taiwan, and then of course the United
Nice.
States. So it's just an amazing art method, and more people are getting certified in it and can teach it and pass on the concept and the ability to let anyone feel like an artist, and you know, so.
Well, I have to admit that when I met you at the Goddess Shop, it was always so fascinating to watch you draw, because it was fascinating to see you draw, but it was also fascinating just to watch you and your aura. You really just, it's a therapy. You just really get into it.
Yeah, and in the beginning, like I say, it was kind of a bit more selfish. It was me doing art, and I loved it, but I gave away my first one I ever did.
Oh.
And then I've given away tons and
Sure.
gifts and Christmas and birthdays.
Yeah, it's a perfect gift.
Yeah. But then when I saw what it could do as far as the mindfulness and the meditating, people that have chronic pain, anxiety,
Oh,
Parkinson's,
sure.
It's so helpful.
Mhm.
I've taught a few ladies that had pretty good tremor to their hand,
Mhm.
and the first tile, it's a little shaky and they're self-conscious. They think, oh, it looks awful. No, keep at it, because that whole connection with the brain and the fine motor skills, it starts to click in, and they focus. By the time they did their second tile, their lines are smoother. I mean, they had tears in their eyes. They called me over,
sure.
look at this. I'm like,
Oh, Kim,
It's,
that's wonderful.
I mean, if you Google it and just reading, you could spend all day reading just testimonials for kids with autism. Just the connection it makes, where they've never drawn anything before. They've been given paper and pen and crayons. It's never interested, and somehow this connection with the patterns and the simplicity of it can connect. And
That's
so
fascinating.
it's just really neat. I mean, I know it sounds bigger than life, and I get really excited, passionate about it. This is an example of a beginner tile. We call them tiles because the size of the paper is 3.5 by 3.5. So they're square, easy to handle. I mean, you can actually just hold it in your hand and draw.
Mhm.
All you need is like a pen and a pencil
Mhm.
and your finger for shading, and you have the tools to do beautiful artwork. And when Rick and Maria came up with this, they wanted, because of her art background, and she wanted this to be special for people, to use the best quality materials for a decent price.
Sure.
But the paper we use, it's 100% cotton,
Oh.
museum quality paper made in Italy by Fabriano.
Oh, I don't know if you can zoom
It's
in.
it's just really delightful to draw on, the way the ink hits it.
It's a nice feeling paper.
And then the back, they made it so you have an area to sign your name, date it, maybe do a little journaling, you know, like my first Zentangle or my trip to Tahoe, or
Right.
you know.
Isn't that
And then-
beautiful?
So this is basically a tile I would teach in a beginning class. It has 4 different patterns, or what we call tangles. And when I teach, I draw on a larger scale on my big tripod, huge piece of paper, while everyone else is following along on the smaller tile. But each pattern is kind of broken down to just a few steps.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's kind of deconstructed. So you just follow along. You do step 1, step 2,
Isn't
step
this
3.
fascinating? Wow.
And so in the beginning, you might have the people saying, "Oh, I can't do this." It's like, Yes, you can. Just hang in there and
Right.
listen.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
but
how
yeah.
fun.
So that's the basics of it.
Oh, how fascinating. Oh, gosh. I think you hold her for
I know.
that, too.
I'm a real sucker for anything that has a bird on it, and then
Oh.
if it's also metal, you can pretty much plan on me buying it. So.
Well, it fits with all of your wonderful items that you have here. Okay, let's see. And you told us about what piqued your interest in the Zentangle. Yeah, okay. Now, could you tell our viewers what materials are used? You talked about the paper, but what
Yeah.
are some of the supplies?
Well, this is the kit that Rick and Maria sell on their website. They have their own Zentangle.com.
Oh, nice.
And everything, this hasn't gone to their heads too much because they still work out of their Victorian home. Everything's shipped out of their home.
Oh, nice.
It's a family business.
Uh-huh.
Her 2 daughters, the grandkids now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so, but they do have products you can get through them. I ordered the kit like right away. I just knew I wanted to do this, and this was going to be a special thing. So
Sure.
they have a kit which is like all inclusive. This thing is looking a little ratty. I've had it for 4 years, but I've taken it on every plane trip, to the beach,
Oh,
car rides, and then I
yeah.
work out of it every night. So it's neat how it has, they kind of thought of everything. It has a DVD
Oh.
that has Rick's pipe music in the background,
Uh-huh.
and then all you see is Maria's hand doing the artwork. There's no
Oh.
other talking.
Okay.
So just that in itself is so relaxing, just watching
Sure.
her draw.
Right.
And then you use a micron pen. This is acid-free, waterproof, museum quality ink.
Oh.
And I don't even know if you can, the nib on these are very,
Oh.
very fine. You can barely
Yes.
see it.
Sure.
But that's what does the really fine pen work.
Okay.
And then we talked about the paper, and then
Oh, look at that.
a nice little pencil for shading, and then you can just add on to it. I've got my little stamp pad that I do. They have over just about every year they try to come up with a couple new products. So this year we had the bijou tiles. Bijou means jewel in French.
Oh.
So it's this tiny little jewel of a
Oh.
tile, which is really fun.
Nice.
We also this year had the opus tile, which is 10 by 10.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah, you go from here to here.
Yeah, right.
And then kind of after that, the sky's the limit. So
Oh, okay.
we have black paper we draw on. We have what we call the Renaissance tan, which is a beautiful kind of a buff tan color, and that's where we kind of go in with the brown ink, white charcoal.
Oh, nice.
And I stayed pretty true to just the black and the gray for probably the first year and a half or so. And that's all you have to do. And then eventually, if you want to branch out and do some color and do some of the templates that are available to do. And
Right.
so,
Oh, and I see their book right behind you there. We'll have to
Yeah.
get a close up on that. So, oh, nice.
yeah, they just
Ooh.
came out with their book last year. I think they felt it was time for them because everyone else was coming up with their own.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
Zentangle now is everywhere.
Right.
Their book is more of a kind of a little coffee table book. Has beautiful artwork in it,
Oh,
but it
uh-huh.
does have the history and the little ceremony that we do.
Nice.
When I say ceremony, because look, some people looking at a blank piece of paper can be very intimidating.
Okay,
It's like,
sure.
how do I even begin? Like that first. So we do a dot in each corner, and we do connect those as like a little border, and then you just divide it up into 4 sections. Here we do like what we call a Z string, so I just went up like this, and then down and up, and then that's when you've got 4 then sections. You can put a pattern in each one.
Okay.
So it takes that stress and thinking out of it. You kind of know each time. You can start with your 4 dots, your border, and then maybe divide it up into 3 sections, or
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And it's so, and that was what was so important to them, is to make this doable, and for people to be able to not get stressed out. They can
Sure.
sit down and start this little piece of artwork.
Well, I know I would need that kind of guidance.
Yeah.
See a white piece of paper and I'd probably freak, so. All right, well, I think you explained to us, I was gonna ask you, the first step in creating Zentangle would be the four corners. That's amazing.
And after you've been doing it for quite a while, you don't have to do that each time. It's
Sure.
just a choice. And then the border that we make and the strings that we make, they're just guidelines. So if you want to tangle outside the strings, outside the border, you can. They're just there to kind of get you started and for a nice foundation.
I like
And,
that, I like that idea.
So as far as the mindfulness or mindlessness, as I said the other night to someone, that is part of it. I can sit down and I know I can start that way. And I mean, I used to be more keyed up and more OCD, a little perfectionism there. I think the first one I ever did probably gave me a headache because I was so intent on doing it right.
Oh, sure.
And with Zentangle, there is no right or wrong way.
Oh, good point, good point.
There are no mistakes.
Mhm.
That's why the pencils we use don't have erasers on the end.
Oh,
And so if you
interesting.
think what you make is a little mistake or oops, it's like, oh, no big deal. It's just an opportunity to turn it into something else, change your little path you were doing. And so some people in the beginning taking classes, they're like, really? Because I want it to look just like yours. I'm like, no, that's not the goal. You know, at the end of each class, I take a group picture of all of the tiles of mosaic, and they all look similar. We've learned the same patterns together, but the interpretation and how they got it down on their paper is different.
Well, sure.
So and they love that at the very end. They're all getting out their cell phones and cameras, and they're all taking pictures of the group mosaic.
Isn't that fun? That is just
And
fun.
as far as empowering people, and helping those that might have a more difficult time or lack the confidence, you've got the whole group saying, oh my gosh, yours is beautiful, look at that.
Oh,
And they're like, really? And they're like, yes.
that's nice.
So that's the part
nice.
that is really rewarding for me, especially with some of the clients I work with that might struggle with a little bit of confidence in that. And they're like, wow, I did art today. I'm an artist.
Oh my gosh,
So.
you're amazing. You're wonderful. Well, do you name or title each of your Zentangle items?
For my tiles, not always. Like, I have one that I did on the flight to go see my dad in Michigan, so I just named it In Flight. Or,
well, sure.
you know, I've done it when we were in Tahoe at a house, so I might have named that one, you know, Tahoe Forest or something.
Oh, fun.
But yeah, you can, and what I like is the back part where you can sign it and do the journaling.
Yes.
And if you save all those, it is kind of like a little record of your artwork over the years. You
True.
can look back and say, wow, you know, come a long ways.
Yeah.
Or this one reminds me of, you know, my dad did just pass away in December, and I had sent him a couple pieces, and my stepmom sent them back to me, so I have them, and
Sure.
you know, so that part's kind of neat.
That is nice. That is nice. Well, to date, do you know how many creations you've made?
I do not.
You have to go look in that portfolio of yours.
Yes, I do now take pictures of everything. I have like a photo portfolio on the computer. But I've given away so many. I have sold a lot of pieces now, but they range from small little rocks that I've tangled on to 16 by 20 canvas now that I'm doing. So
Wow.
I don't know how many I've done.
Sure. Oh, that's awesome. And do you, I know you mentioned that you give away as gifts, but do you sell your creations?
I do sell my work. They're not really in a gallery or in a specific location. If I do an craft show, art show, they're for sale there. A lot of my family members and friends of family members now see, Facebook's been a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I might post, like the wolf that I've done or something,
Yes.
and they're like, oh, can you do one of those for me? And, I live in Washington, and can you ship it? And,
Oh, nice.
the wolf is kind of a neat, just mentioning that, there's a fundraiser coming up in Reno for the wolf refuge there. So I'm donating a wolf that I did for their silent auction.
Nice.
So, and that's getting beyond the basic Zentangle method. It's more of what we call a Zia. It's a Zentangled inspired art.
Oh,
So,
I like that.
Yeah, so it's, that object obviously looks like a wolf, but I put Zentangle patterns within his face and his picture, and that's what makes it, with the connection with Zentangle.
They're
So,
beautiful. We'll take
Yeah.
pictures of that
Yeah.
and add in the program here so you can see. Oh yeah, I've seen that. And your deer over here is amazing. So
So I've had lots of fun putting it on different surfaces as far as the rocks, pumpkins, paper, the linen canvas. You know, it's really limitless what you can do. So.
I think that's incredible. Again, we'll have to get some pictures of it. All right, well, let's see here. Being we don't really have much time left, I just wanted to ask you, what is your favorite pattern?
I would say at the moment it's a pattern called flux.
Okay.
And sometimes I know the origin of the names and sometimes I don't. And I don't know how that one became flux, but it's a very, what I call a organic, more of a garden type pattern.
Okay.
So it's got movement to it and it looks kind of like a leaf, and I usually am now putting it in just about every piece that I work on.
We'll get a picture of that too and include it in the program here. Well, what we could do now is if you could tell our viewers your contact information, how they get a hold of you to
Sure.
class or.
I am official with a business, so my business name is Tangle Wonders, and you can reach me through email, tanglewonders@outlook.com, also through Facebook. I have a cell phone number if you want that.
We could add that if you feel comfortable.
Sure. It's 775-230-6326. I don't have an official website yet. That'll be coming soon this year, hopefully. But definitely reach me by email as far as wanting to attend a class. I do private classes. I've done birthday parties for 9-year-old girls.
Oh, fun.
Wasn't very zenful, but it was very fun. And they're able to draw and chatter and laugh all at the same time. So.
Well, maybe we can come back and have another show with you showing us how to create something, okay?
Love to.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Sandie.
for being on our show today. This is amazing and awesome. Now, if you would like to be a guest on Psychic Creations, please know that the content is of the spiritual, the Zen, the paranormal, and holistic health specialties. And you can get a hold of me at my website, which is www.sandypsychicstones.com. Again, thank you so much for being
Oh, you're so welcome.
part of this, well, this awesome show. It's all yours. Thank you for watching Psychic Creations, and we'll see you next show.
So we would do our dot in each corner and then connect that with the border, which we don't have to be ruler straight. That's not part of it. And then this is divided up in what we call like a stacked string pattern. So it's just making a line here, 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 and there. So you can kind of see that, right?
Yes.
And then it's putting a pattern in each section. So when I start, this is going to be all blank, and I would start just here, how we're going to do this pattern. Then we move on to this pattern, and then we do shading at the very end, and I love that part of it because that's when it kind of pops and gives it the 3D look. So doing the graphite and creating like highlights within each design.